You know who I'm talking about, right? That person on your friends list who has a profile, but never, ever posts. No vacation pics, no status updates, just digital silence. In a world that's all about being seen, they're kind of like ghosts. But what if that silence is actually saying something powerful?
I mean, you've probably wondered about it. Are they just really shy? Maybe a little boring? Or is there something deeper going on? Well, it turns out psychology has a pretty fascinating take on this.
Yeah, our brains kind of jump to the negative, don't they? We think, oh, they must be antisocial, maybe they don't have much going on. But what if the truth is the exact opposite? What if it's actually a sign that they're incredibly secure, self-aware, and grounded?
So let's do it. Let's peel back those first impressions and really challenge what we think confidence looks like in this digital age. See, this behavior isn't about what they're missing. It's not a lack of confidence. It's not a boring life. No, it's all about what they have, these incredible inner strengths that, honestly, a lot of us are trying to build. So how do they build this fortress of inner security? Let's take a look at the blueprint, the psychological architecture that makes it all work. And spoiler alert, it's all an inside job. Okay, so it really boils down to 3 core pillars. First, they put a really high value on their privacy. Second, they have a rock-solid sense of self-awareness. And third, their self-esteem? It's secure. It doesn't need a constant stream of likes to feel good. And let's be clear about this privacy thing. It's not about being antisocial. It's about being a fierce guardian of your own mental space. Their validation comes from inside themselves, not from a notification. They just don't need to shout their joy from the digital rooftops to actually feel it. And wow, that is a powerful kind of security. This all ties back to a really cool psychological idea called self-concept clarity. Think of it as the bedrock of self-awareness. It just means you know who you are. You know your values, your goals, and because of that, you're not getting tossed around by every new trend that comes along. Your anchor is already set.
Basically, their emotional world is managed internally. It's stable. They're not riding that crazy roller coaster of, did they like my post? Because their happiness, it's an inside job. It's generated right there within themselves.
Now, having this kind of inner security, it's like having a special pair of glasses. It lets them see the online world for what it is. They can see straight through the digital illusion, and they make a choice. They choose what's real over the endless, perfectly curated highlight reel. And this shows up in a couple of really interesting ways. First, they're often deep thinkers, you know? They're more about introspection than showing off. And second, they just get it. They have this crystal clear understanding that so much of social media is a performance. That deep thinker part, that comes from something called an internal locus of evaluation. It's a fancy way of saying they're their own referee. They judge themselves by their own rulebook, not by what the crowd is cheering for. They're playing for depth, not for likes. They just see past the performance. They know that a feed is just a curated best of moments. And because they see the stage, they don't feel that crushing pressure to get up there and put on a show themselves. And this quote really hits on the huge trap they're avoiding. We're all out here living our messy, complicated, real lives, and then we measure them against someone else's perfectly polished highlight reel. It's just a recipe for feeling bad about yourself, right? This whole thing has a name, you know? It's called social comparison theory. It's this natural human instinct where we figure out our own worth by seeing how we stack up against others. But social media? It's like social comparison theory on steroids. So by not posting, these folks are literally just stepping off that treadmill. They're opting out of that nonstop, exhausting comparison game. And all this brings us to a totally new way of thinking about online strength. It's not about being the loudest person in the room. It's about the quiet confidence of being unseen. So here's the takeaway. The next time you scroll past that friend who never posts, maybe pause for a second. Instead of thinking they're shy or their life is dull, just consider. Maybe they're actually more grounded. Maybe they're more emotionally intelligent, more self-aware. Maybe they've just made a very conscious choice to pick peace over performance. Because at the end of the day, they get their validation from real life, from real connections, from knowing who they are. They simply don't need to be seen by everyone to feel truly seen. So that leaves us with something to think about, right? In this world that is just built on being seen, where we're all chasing likes and followers, what does real, authentic confidence actually mean to you?